By the time Catullus was born, the Romans had made provinces of North Africa, Sicily, Sardinia, and Corsica. Spain, which they divided into two provinces, nearer and further, Transalpine Gaul, stretching across the south of France and northeast into Switzerland, Cisalpine Gaul, which encompassed northern Italy, including Catullus' Verona, Macedonia, Asia, western Turkey, and extended their global rule through numerous allied states. Ever inquisitive, Catullus cast his eye across this tremendous world map, as well as the more insular world of Roman politics. One moment he would find himself recounting adventures at sea in breathless syllables, the next describing a private dinner with friends, the next weeping that his lover did not feel things as intensely as he. Perhaps it is because our ideas about ancient poetry are so coloured by the awe-inspiring epics of Homer and their lofty themes of humanity that many of Catullus' poems seem so surprising and immediate. While some of his poems are highly learned and erudite, others are mischievous, goatish, direct. With characteristic boldness, he requests a woman he loves to "Give me 1,000 kisses, then 100, then another 1,000, then a second 100, then don't stop, another 1,000, then 100. Poem 5. In Latin, these lines begin so abruptly, da, din, dienda. It is as if we hear them with Catullus' quickening heartbeat. I was 17 when I first discovered them, and they made Catullus feel more alive to me than any other poet I knew. I have read them hundreds of times since, and they still have the same effect. One of the reasons Catullus' poems are still so readable, I think, is that they show that people of his world were not always so very different from us. The characters he encounters and describes in the streets and bawdy inns of Italy call to mind the stock cast of a Roman comedy, or even a scene in late-night Soho, teeming with heartbroken lovers, drunken, cavorting youths, old men pining for women a fraction of their age, money-grabbing brothel keepers, mercenary meretrices, prostitutes, slaves who knew too much. Catullus' immense skill as a poet lay in his ability to combine many literary genres in the Latin tongue, not just elements of comedy, but the clarity of Sappho, the celebrated female poet, the compact and erudite style of Hellenistic poets, and the wit of lewd graffiti in Rome, with themes as various as love, the writer's life, and the myth of Jason and the Argonauts. The Roman province of Macedonia incorporated much of mainland Greece, and in Catullus' day, Greek culture had well and truly permeated Rome's own. While never enslaved to his Greek predecessors, when he wanted to be particularly learned, Catullus adapted their poetic ideas to convey them with new feeling. He forged new Latin words and was partial to diminutives: misere passer, poor little sparrow; scortilium, little tart. He feverishly combined elegantly phrased sentiment with colloquialism and obscenity, unnerving the more serious Romans who believed that a jibe at one man's sexual inadequacy was what high-spirited youths scribbled on walls and brandished in tense moments, not what educated writers preserved in fine papyrus scrolls. His work would therefore prove unsettling for some of the older generation, as well as important public figures such as Cicero, the great orator, who had rather conservative tastes. Such readers in Rome were used to epic and chronicles, and meandering excursus on the history that made Rome august. They had the patience to work through manual-like offerings on farming, if not to write them. Prior to Catullus, a cluster of poets, including the little-known Laevius and Valerius Aedituus, had tried to capture the liveliness of the Greek poets in Latin, but their attempts would not generally prove as successful as his. Their names are obscure today as a result of the poor survival of their work. Catullus did not shirk sobriety, but framed it unexpectedly, and with a finesse of the kind that many of his literary predecessors lacked. The apparent simplicity of Catullus' poetry